The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
14:20 in the morning, 14 minutes and 20 seconds worth of sports talk to get you through your daily commute. Hot takes, recaps, best bets, and a little humor to get your day going in the right direction. Sit back, grab your coffee, and let's get into it. All right, 14:20 in the morning for this 22nd day of December 2024. Today's show, as always, is brought to you by SeatGeek.com, the SeatGeek app. Use promo code 1420SEAT at SeatGeek.com today for that last-minute holiday shopping and save yourself $20 in the process over there at SeatGeek. Remember, we're part of the Belly Up Media Network. Go to bellyupsports.com for all the great articles and other podcasts as well, like the guys at Corner Booth, my main guys over at Craft Brewed Sports, and no credentials required, and on it goes with the guys over there at Belly Up Sports. Had a nice meeting with them on Friday night, which is odd to have a meeting on a Friday night, but it's one of those things. And we had a nice conversation about where we're going to be going in the new year and moving forward with Belly Up Sports and the 1420 Sports Bar podcast. For Beer with Sports Talk and a whole lot more, but today it's coffee. It's in the morning, right? It's one of those things. Yesterday, before I got to recording with Aaron from Brutally Honest Sports, the news kind of came across the Twitter machine that Rickey Henderson had passed away, and I didn't bring it up at all during the show, and maybe I should have said something, but I didn't. Until Jeff Paston or Buster Olney or one of the big dogs say something, I usually don't. I don't comment on those kind of things because you know how Twitter can be, but I put something out there on the old Twitter machine saying if Rickey passed away, then Rickey would be the first to let us know. And it turns out later on in the afternoon, Rickey passed away due to pneumonia at the age of 65, just days before his 66th birthday, which was odd considering. I mean, sicknesses can take over pretty quick. Pneumonia can take over pretty quick because Rickey seemed pretty healthy in the Oakland A's last days at the Oakland Alameda Coliseum at the end of this year's baseball season. He was his usual jovial self, talking about how Rickey can't be sad because Rickey's got too much money, and how Henderson used to talk in the third person all the time. And it's one of those ones you kind of shows you my age a little bit. You remember how the greatness of Rickey, how great he was throughout his career when he first got drafted, and then he went on to play for the A's four different times. Then he got traded to the Yankees, back to the A's. And then those great teams in the 90s only won the World Series. Then he went over to Toronto, and the rest is history with Rickey Henderson. But how great he was throughout his illustrious career. They didn't make him any better than Rickey Henderson, and that's coming from a Yankee fan. This has nothing to do with the fact that Rickey Henderson played for the Yankees. This is the fact that Rickey Henderson played the game the way he wanted to play it. He played the game with passion, with flair, with drama, with intensity, with everything, all at the same time as having fun. And Henderson did things properly, and he played with a little bit of extra confidence. Some would call it arrogance. But the thing with Henderson that I really admired through it, now that you look back about, you know, you're in the game of baseball and you look back at the game of baseball and how these old school guys say, you know, just run, no bat flipping, no drama, no showboating, no nothing. But Rickey Henderson never wore one. Like after he'd hit a home run and he'd pimp out of the box and do everything that he would do. That the only way that Henderson could, and the only he was that guy. His next at bat, he would never wear one. So that's to show the amount of respect that Henderson had throughout his 25-year career in the big leagues, that he was never thought of as being to try to show anybody up. Rickey was just a showman. He was a showman that was the greatest of all time. And I don't think that to anybody. This morning before I was just going through some old stats, and the stats are for whatever stats nerds. That's not a shot at anybody, but I was just going through some old numbers of Henderson. He got 93% of the Hall of Fame vote. And I don't understand this Hall of Fame voting. Maybe we'll get into that right now. I've never understood this Hall of Fame voting, how a guy like Rickey Henderson, a guy like Derek Jeter, and it goes on and on. I think only Mariano Rivera has the 100% approval rate to the Hall of Fame voters. But Rickey Henderson, I don't know what more these voters could possibly want to not have a 100% vote. Yes, it was 93, which is a very high number. But for Henderson to not have that complete Hall of Fame ballot it's mind blowing to me, considering how great he was throughout his career and everything he accomplished on a day to day basis when he played in the big leagues. He was like no other. He was simply the best. He was just one of those guys that did everything uh, on the field, off the field, all the Rickey-isms, everything. If Rickey Henderson doesn't scream Hall of Famer, I don't know what does. Rickey was by far, and this is not. I don't think this is disputable. Maybe this is just me and recency bias because he just passed away. But you remember when we had the Rick Award, and I'm going to bring that back starting next week. To baseball players across the world, not just major league guys, but start handing out the Rick Award again because Rick was he was personified what a professional athlete should be. He played hard. He played to win. He played to entertain the fans. He played to entertain himself, and he did it his way. It was his way or no way. And the way he like the numbers speak for themselves. Obviously, not just his numbers alone or Hall of Fame worthy, but just his persona that added another level of what Rickey Henderson was able to do. I remember like in the 90s when he went, or 89 when he got to get traded back to Oakland when they were starting to build the Bash brothers and just the way that team carried themselves. And Rick was the leader behind all that. Yeah, they had Canseco. Yeah, they had McGuire. Yeah, they had Dave Stewart. Yeah, they had Henderson and everything else. But it was Rickey who kind of led that whole charge with his demeanor and his confidence. Yeah, you think about when he was leading off. He was either getting on base or hitting a home run. He was unbelievable coming out of the leadoff spot, and there was never a guy ever going to be like that ever again. How baseball has changed so much, where that doesn't happen anymore. And I think if Rickey was still, if he was to come out of the minor leagues right now, or to come out of college baseball or whatever it might be, he might change the game of baseball back to what it was, because it was such an effective way of starting off a game. I don't care what anybody says. If you're at first base and you get second base, it's easier to score a run. And Rickey found ways to do that. You think about how many stolen bases, over 1,400 in his career, leadoff home runs over 80, starting a game off like that. Starting a game off 1-0 in the top of the first is way better than being down 1-0 in the bottom of the first. And Rickey found a way to do that on a consistent basis with flair, with dramatics, with that air of confidence that was no one could see it, or no one could. Yeah, it was. He was such a great player, and nobody you like all the honors and all the tributes that were coming out yesterday to him, man. Like nobody's going to. I said gonna on a. It's I'm 50. I shouldn't be saying gonna. It's going to. But all the tributes that were coming out yesterday towards Rickey Henderson about how great of a teammate he was, and how much fun he was to be around the ballpark. And yeah, you're not going to get any negative stuff on the guy the day a guy passed away. But he was to a man. All his teammates loved playing with him. They loved his childhood, the way he was just loved being out in the field. And Rickey Henderson, the way he competed in his own special way, it'll never be matched. And it's too bad that the game is so much different now compared to when Henderson played. Like you think back when he first, like the day he broke, it was in 1991, I think it was, when he broke Lou Brock's stolen base record at 939, I think the number was. But when he stole third base and he had the Oakley sunglasses on and he had the fluorescent green Mizuno gloves, he stole third base and pulled the base out and the whole bit and stopped the game. That was Rickey. And he would do that no matter what. He did a home run, and he'd end up halfway to the first base dugout, pimping and flaring and everything else. He was bat flipping before bat flipping was bat flipping. It was just such a positive thing to watch, and the thing is, he could back it up. Right. If you MVP in 1990, Henderson was able to back it up all the time. I wrote an article for the 1420sportsbar.com last night, just reminiscing about some times about some things that Henderson did and how great he was. And you took it for granted. And like the thing is with the Henderson that you forget or that it's going to be lost in this whole thing is that there will definitely never be another guy with that kind of charisma, that kind of flair, that kind of skill. So many athletes now, and I'm not going to start hacking on today's athlete compared to what they were 20, 30, 40 years ago. But today's athlete, they're very cookie cutter, and they're all the same. And they say the right thing, and they do this and they do that, and they all the same haircut, especially hockey players. And Rickey was a man of his own. Rickey, he wore his pants a little too tight. He wore his jersey one size too small to show off his biceps. He pulled his socks up a little bit higher. He did it all, and he never changed. He wore his hat a little bit goofy. He was an Oakland kid, and he was Oakland through and through. Like, he played for 9 different teams. You didn't know where he's going to end up half the time, but Rickey always ended up playing for Oakland. And to me, he'll always be an Oakland A, even though he won that. Like, you think about when he got traded to Toronto from Oakland in 1993 to secure that second World Series for the Toronto Blue Jays. Like, you think of that White, Anderson, or Alomar, Molitor, Carter, Olerud. Then you threw the H in there for the real Whamco with Henderson. And when they first got him, I was like, where the hell are they going to put him? And then I thought, you know what? It doesn't matter. It's Henderson. Put him anywhere. Put him at the top. Put him behind White. Put him anywhere you want in that lineup. And he's going to make that team better. And he did. And you think in that 9th inning, and it was on TV the other night, they were talking about that 93 World Series. Those best games ever on the Major League Baseball Network are fantastic. If you haven't watched them, make sure you tune into those. Not they need my advertising, but no, they're fantastic to watch. But Henderson, he got that leadoff walk in the 9th off Mitch Williams, and he just set the tone. He set the tone so often for baseball teams to keep that pitcher off balance, to keep that guy. You know, you got to think that Rickey's going to be going, because Rickey would tell you. He said, Rickey's going. And the way he talked in the third person, it was such a it's going to be missed. And even like when he was talking at the Oakland A's closing days this past season, he was always smiling, always loved to be out in front of the crowd, always loved to be part of it, and just loved being a professional baseball player. And he just loved being on the field, and he just didn't want to quit playing. I think he played at the age of 45. Like, the A's were going to give him a 1-day send-off, so he retired in an A's jersey. I think his last team was the Dodgers. I think I get lost in old Rickey, how it was going. I guess I could have looked it up, but he was such a just, it's hard to describe. Like, for people who are younger than younger, like in your 30s, I guess, go back and watch some old Henderson videos on YouTube, because it was unbelievable how great this guy was. It was unbelievable what he could do on the field, and how he would change the game. Even when he just caught a lazy fly ball, he would do it with some flair to make the game interesting. He would do everything that only Rickey could. Even when he came to play, people talk about how Juan Soto, when he takes a walk, or he takes a pitch, and this goes back to Soto somehow. But Rickey would do it exponentially better than that. Rickey would get on your nerves if he wasn't on your team, but you loved him. You loved watching him no matter what. Rickey was must-see TV, and for him to, like, it's one of those things. Like, Rickey, like, as you get older, you start thinking about guys from your youth that you used to watch, and then they get older too, right? And so Rickey passed away. I kind of compare it like when my Jimmy Buffett passed away a couple summers ago. My sister sent me a message, because she's a Buffett fan as well. She said, it's one of those guys you kind of thought that would never happen to. They're just going to live forever and be part of baseball forever, and have the sound bite and the going to concerts and everything else, and like Buffett would till the day he passed away. And Rickey was that same kind of a guy that Rickey was Superman, and you just thought that he was invincible, and he was going to be every year, no matter where the A's were going to end up, he'd be throwing out the opening day pitch forever, or he end up at Old Timers Day at Yankee Stadium forever. And you just figure, because Rickey, even a few years back, you watch those games on TV, and he's in his uniform ready to go. Rick was a competitor. And that was the greatest thing about Rickey Henderson. He loved playing the game. He loved playing the game hard. He loved playing the game fast. He loved playing the game for the fans, and he loved playing the game for himself. And I'm not sure what order that all went in. He loved his teammates, because his teammates loved him. And you're not exactly sure where it all went, right? And he only got the 2 World Series and 1 MVP. He's only got to steal 100 bases in a year 3 times. It's just crazy to think the number of stolen bases he had over his career. And last year, I think some of the leading stolen. The game's different, but I don't think the game's better. You'll never convince me that a guy stealing second base is a bad thing. Yeah, you don't want to get thrown out. Yeah, you don't want to. But man, oh man, if you're always counting on the home run, I think you're doing it the wrong way. Steal a base, play some small ball. You never know what happened. And Rickey was the best at that. Rickey was the best at a lot of things, and he is going to be sorely missed. the Rickeyisms, whether the stories are true about he had that one where he didn't. This one, I think this one's been debunked, but I kind of wish it wasn't, when he was playing for the Mets and John Olerud was there, and Rickey went up to Olerud and basically said, I don't know if this is true or not, but like it was one of those. And hey, I used to play with a guy in Toronto, used to wear a helmet just like you, because remember Olerud used to wear the batting helmet on the bases, and so it was kind of funny. And Olerud was like, yeah, Rickey, that was me. And then the other one where Rick. He didn't cash a check for $1 million. It was a bonus check that he didn't have. So he didn't need the money. So he just had it. And the A's had to go to him and say, hey, can you go cash that check? We're trying to do our year end and the books and the things and the stuff. And Rick said, well, I don't need it. What am I going to do with this? He gave it to his kid, and then they cashed it. And just the Rickeyisms, the other ones, like the one he said, he saw John 3:16, which is a Bible verse. It was a John 3:16. He goes, I don't want to hear anybody about John 3:16. Rickey's hitting 344. So he played ignorance, he played dumb, but Rickey was a showman. Rickey was the best, and I think it's like I said, I mean, it might be recency bias, but as you guys know, listen to the show for the 4+ years we've been doing this, that Rickey to me is one of the best of all time, and so it's not recency bias for me that Rickey's one of the greatest baseball players of all time, top 3 or 4, well, best in my lifetime, and that's not even a thing. The defense, the speed, the all of it, hit for power, and the speed, the getting on base. I think that if baseball could find a way to get back to that, think about that. If you could have that kind of guy now in today's game, leading off, getting on base, because on base percentage is huge, right? And all of a sudden he's at third base with none out. That changed the game. And Rickey did that back then, 30, 40 years ago, right? So why baseball doesn't take a page out of the Rickey Henderson book to get it done again is a bit of a mystery. Maybe it'll change. Maybe there'll be a renaissance per se of Rickey Henderson kind of figuring things out and doing it this way or that way. Because it's man, oh man, he was such a great player, and he's going to be missed. And his teammates and the tributes have been great on Major League Baseball Network well, not even 24 hours now since it was announced. But yeah, this one kind of hurts a little bit. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like this one, you look back on those great A's teams, and you didn't hate him, but you sure didn't like him a whole bunch when he was strutting and cutting and doing everything else. And it was he was the perfect player at the perfect time. Late '80s, early '90s, where there was that different mojo going about, and you're allowed to show your flair a little bit, and he did that. And Rickey, he took took the horse by the reins. He went with it, and nobody disliked it. I mean, like I said, if you try to do that now, like I said earlier, like it's just funny. These old school guys, it would never happen on my watch. It would never happen here. Just run. Don't showboat. Don't do this. You're gonna wear one. You're gonna take one for the team and all that stuff. Rickey never wore one. That's the respect that he had. Who was more arrogant than Rickey? Who was more flamboyant than Rickey? No one ever threw at him, right? Nobody ever did that stuff to Henderson. He was that kind of a guy because they knew that's who he was. And Rickey was the original. If you don't like what I'm doing, beat me. I'm going to beat you. Like I'm going to get on base. I'm going to get to second, and then I'm going to get into third, and somehow I'm going to get home too. Like I'm going to score a run. If you can't beat me, I'm going to beat you. So when I do something great, don't complain that I'm showboating. The whole purpose of this game is to entertain the fans and to score runs. And Rickey did it better than anybody ever did. And that's why nobody ever threw at him. Nobody ever disrespected him. None of it. None of it. Everybody wanted him on their team. Rickey found a way to do it, and he was the. It's a sad day for baseball. It's sad, obviously, for Oakland fans. Losing their team and losing their native son. Because Rickey was born in Chicago, but he grew up in Oakland, drafted by the A's in 1978, I think it was, and. Yeah, it's just a sad day for baseball. But the thing is, in a couple days before his birthday, of course, Rickey's born on Christmas Day. Born in a car early at the hospital, and that's one of another Rickeyism. He was came out a little bit early. He was always fast, always ready to go, even out of the womb. And he born on Christmas Day, so a few days before his would have been his 66th birthday. It's sad. It's sad. People die. I understand that, but to sports fans like that, like myself and guys who grew up basically formidable years in the 80s and the 90s, watching a guy like this, it was every kid wanted to be like him. Couldn't, obviously, right? With that speed and that dramatic, and then getting on base and like just all of it, how he hitting home runs and batting practice, like all of it. There'll never ever be another Rickey Henderson, especially in today's cookie cutter world where you can't be certain ways and you can't do certain things, or you're not supposed to do certain things, and you just wonder if Rickey was born 30 years later, how it would have turned out, how he would have played in today's game. Generational player, man. Like you talk about generational players, you talk about the Otanis of the world, the Sotos of the world, you talk about the Derek Jeters of the world. Those guys don't hold a candle to what Rickey Henderson was. Don't hold a candle. And like he's my generation, obviously my generation for watching. So I can't compare him to Babe Ruth, obviously, and to guys before that. But man, oh man, from 1980 on, when he's stealing 100 bases a year, it was something to watch. And every kid wanted to be like him. Every kid had the bobblehead teeth, the sweatshirts. I remember you remember those. I'll find some. I'll post them up later on. But everybody remembers how great he was, and yeah, it's sad. It's really sad that you won't see a guy like that again. You won't have those sound bites. I mean, the internet lasts forever, but the new ones that would come out of Rickey's yap on a consistent basis. Even when he said he wasn't sad about the A's leaving, he's too rich to be sad. So it's he was great. I mean, there's no other way to put it, and it's going to be interesting to see how the funeral is going to be in the memorial service, and Rickey, they should do some AI or whatever they call that stuff, and have Rickey speak at his own funeral, because that's probably how Rickey would have wanted it, to be able to talk to his own funeral, because no one liked Rickey more than Rickey, but his fans were real right behind how much they admired the guy and wanted to watch him play, because he was electric. Like I said a few weeks back about Hall of Famers and what should be the Constitution, or what should be if to be in the Hall of Fame. Rickey Henderson, they put a picture. If you're anywhere near this, you're in the Hall of Fame, because people would pay money, no matter what age he was playing at, to see Rick play. And he was the epitome of a baseball Hall of Famer. He's the epitome of an all-time great. There's not many guys who can go by their first name and everybody knows who they were. Mariano, Kareem, Magic, and Rickey. When you say Rickey, everybody knows who you're talking about. They ain't talking about Ricky Bobby Talladega Nights. They're thinking about Rickey frickin' Henderson, the greatest ever play the game, in my opinion, in my lifetime. Just everything he did, it was the charisma alone, and able to back it up was second to none. So 1420, tip of the cap goes out to the greatest of all time, the greatest base stealer of all time, one of the greatest pitcher or hitters of all time, one of the greatest, the greatest. I don't even know what the words I'm looking for. One of the greatest showmen of all time in baseball, one of the greatest to play the game, one of the greatest ambassadors to the game. He made kids want to play baseball, and kids did want to play baseball, and because of him, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if how the next year, because we played for 9 teams, right? So what's going to when opening day is next year and all these places that he played, what kind of thoughts and everything else are going to be going out to Rickey Henderson, because baseball owes that guy a lot. You think about the 98 season when it was Sosa, McGuire. We'll get into that in half a second too. We'll do that. I'll take a little commercial break here about Sosa having to apologize to the Cubs to get allowed back into the building, but whatever. But Rickey, we'll close it out here. Rickey Henderson, the baseball world, they're going to miss him. The tributes are going to come out, but the baseball world is going to miss Rickey Henderson and what he meant to the game of baseball, and how he changed the game forever. And that maybe the baseball heads should take a hard look back at how Rickey played and get back to that, because you know what? That was a fun time to watch. Home runs abound and Rickey running bases. There's nothing not quite better. 1420 Sports Bar Podcast for Bear Sports, talking a whole lot more. This segment was brought to you by SeatGeek.com, the SeatGeek app. Use promo code 1420pod at SeatGeek.com, or Seat 1420 Seat at SeatGeek.com. Old Dabas Die Hard, and save yourself $20 on your first purchase. Last minute Christmas stocking stuffers for the holiday season and beyond. Go and get some tickets at SeatGeek, and that helps support the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast. 4 coffees this morning and a whole lot more. Here's a little word from our friends over there at Righteous Felon, and then we'll talk about some travesty. It's not a travesty. It's a pretty deep word. Some thoughts and thoughts about the game of baseball. Righteous Felon Craft Jerky is the official jerky of Belly Up Sports. For over a decade, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky has led the American meat snack revolution by concocting delicious, adventurous, U.S.-sourced jerky recipes for uncompromising carnivores across the country. With 15 different flavors to choose from, Righteous Felon has all jerky lovers covered, and by using promo code BELLYUP, you will get 15% off your purchase at RighteousFelon.com. Do your taste buds a favor today and rip into a bag of Righteous Felon jerky. All right, go to righteousfelon.com, just like I said in that little ad there. It's the golden voice of Brent Radlinsky on there. I forgot that it's been a year since I did that. My God. Anyways, go to righteousfelon.com for the best in craft jerky. Use promo code BELLYUP and save yourself 15% over there at righteousfelon.com and help support Belly Up Sports and the 1420 Sports Bar podcast. Yeah, over the weekend, it's like the Hall of Fame and baseball, and it's infuriating to me. Baseball dork, as you guys know, but it still doesn't make me any less crazy about how the talking heads and the powers that be, excuse me, they're the powers that be treat this great game and how they treat their athletes who may have bent the rules a little bit, but I don't know if they ever broke them. But Sammy Sosa issued apology to the Cubs and Cubs fans for his use of performance enhancing drugs, I guess you could say. Well, not you could say, you would say. But it's a little bit strange that he was basically singled out for doing this. But what's really forgotten about is that Bud Selig is in the Hall of Fame. And Bud Selig was the commissioner back in 1998 when the Sosa McGuire home run chase was on that basically saved the game of baseball from eating itself after the 94 strike and everything else. And Sammy Sosa and Mark McGuire had that magical run chasing Roger Maris, and on it goes, and the home runs, the commercials, the chicks dig the long ball, and all of it, right? And then you had the A-Rod, his stuff with the PEDs, and McGuire and Canseco and the juice and the things and the stuff. And so, so all these players have had to pay the price for cheating, quote unquote, but they really weren't, because it wasn't illegal. It wasn't against the rules. It's just, it was just unethical, I guess. But for some reason, Bud Selig got in the Hall of Fame. He was the one who was behind all this. He never said anything that was unbecoming of baseball, or to try to stop this thing. Like when the Andros Steendion was in the, remember that? Geez, that's a long time ago. That's 26 years ago. The Andro bottle in McGuire's locker, and what's this, what's that, and then on it went. But anyway, so I don't understand why these baseball players get vilified for something that the baseball turn their head to. And this has been a topic for a long time. Well, I'm going to put a 1420 spin on it. These players who don't end up in the Hall of Fame, I'm not saying Sammy Sosa is a Hall of Famer. Sammy Sosa is an all-time great Cub. He's not a Hall of Famer. But for a guy to have to grovel and send out an apology to just be allowed to come into Wrigleyville and be part of the sports world that is the Cubs. I mean, it's one of the bigger franchises in baseball. But for him to have to grovel and kiss the feet of these owners and the commissioner who made nothing but money, and he helped save baseball, I think it's really wrong and really shitty. It took me till 8:47 to swear at 14:20 in the morning. But anyways, it just doesn't make sense to me. And then you see the Hall of Fame ballots are slowly leaking in, and they're coming in. And I think it gets released next week or the week after. I can't remember. It doesn't much matter. And you see some, and yes, the A-Rods of the world are left off again. The Manny Ramirez are left off again. And anybody who tells me that Russell Martin, really solid player, anybody who tells me that Russell Martin's a Hall of Famer and Alex Rodriguez isn't, is out of their mind. And these people have votes. They're out of their freaking mind if they think that A-Rod isn't a Hall of Famer and Russell Martin is. Russell Martin's a really good player. He's a really good player. Baseball Canada Hall of Famer. Yeah, I'll give him that. But he's not better than Alex Rodriguez. I know they're not saying he's better than Rodriguez, but is he more deserving of a Hall of Fame spot? No, still no. Just don't even vote for him. Like don't even vote for anybody then. And which I think that's got to be changed. But for these owners to be turning a blind eye and be collecting paychecks and filling buildings, and me and Aaron talked about it yesterday as well. Really good show. Whenever Aaron comes on or I go on his show, we've had supposed to be 7 o'clock start yesterday morning and get going until about 8:10, but whatever, it doesn't much matter. Like I think he forgets it's East Coast to Mountain Standard Time thing. But it's just funny that all these owners who basically just collected paychecks, baseball was being saved. Yeah, these players made a lot of money, but how they got vilified and how they have to go groveling back to these ownership groups and to their fan bases and saying, "Can you please let me be part of this again? Because I don't have many years left in me." I think it's completely wrong. Bud Selig gets in the Hall of Fame, and he was the one that could have done something about the PED hoo-ha that was going on in the 90s, and he didn't do anything. He's in the Hall of Fame. Why? So why are these players being told that they can't be part of it? And I know this story gets old, but every year it comes up at a Hall of Fame voting time, where it's not right. It's not right that these players, that guys like Alex Rodriguez, are still out of the Hall of Fame. Alex Rodriguez, like I said last week, would have been $1 billion player. If Soto got 765 million, A-Rod gets double that. Double that. He gets 100 million a year. Really, if you want to put it in perspective, right? So all these guys who get vilified for being on PEDs, everyone, and the argument everyone was doing it. Well, that's not true, because there's guys who weren't, but there's guys who were, and it saved baseball to what we have today. Without those guys doing what they did back in 1998, and Sammy Sosa's one of them. For Sammy Sosa to have to grovel to the Cubs is so wrong. It's so wrong. When all of these owners, you look at how much money they're making. You look at how much freaking money these owners are making, and he has to go and grovel back to be allowed back in. That's wrong. That is so wrong. These franchises are worth double and triple the amount of money that they were back in '98 when at the peak of the home run chase to get Maris. You think how much money the Cubs are worth now, and Sammy Sosa has to grovel. That is just really, really messed up. It doesn't make sense to me how that is the thing still. How these guys for X amount of years, for 26 years later, they still have to be extradited from baseball. That they're in baseball purgatory. These guys saved the game and saved these owners. They made millions and millions, some of these billions of dollars for these franchises. It's wrong. It is so wrong that any of this stuff is still happening, that these guys don't get their just due to be part of baseball forever. I know you don't need to be in the Hall of Fame to be a Hall of Famer. I understand that. Like I understand that. Like there's guys like the Pete Rose conversation, and yeah, he's a Hall. Yeah, put him in. What doesn't matter? It's a plaque in a hall, whatever. But these guys should get their just due. These owners get their just due with how much money they're still making. They're getting their just due with how much money they're going to make. They're getting just due with what their franchises are worth. Give these guys what they deserved. They didn't take steroids because they just wanted to get better. They did it to stay on the field. They did it to improve themselves a little bit. They did it to get past some injuries, some nagging injuries that might have happened. Were there some guys who became B players to A players? Yeah, but you don't know who those guys are. I'll name one: Brady Anderson. Remember him? What was in '94? He was the home run derby champion. It was '94, '95. It doesn't. No, '95. It doesn't matter. But that's one. That's a one-off. The guys who were Hall of Famers were going to be Hall of Famers anyways. They were going to be Hall of Famers no matter what. Brady Anderson and his sideburns and everything else, 90210 music playing in the background. So it must have been what, 93. But anyways, he hit 50 whatever home runs, but he was never heard from again. We're not putting Brady Anderson in the Hall of Fame. We're talking Alex Rodriguez. We're talking A-Rod. We're talking Roger Clemens. What are we doing here? Like, what are we doing? It's ridiculous that all these owners just get a pass. They had to have known. Their trainers knew. Like all their employees knew. Everybody knew. So why do the owners get a pass? Why are they told to sell their franchise for being unbecoming to the game of baseball? Like, what the hell's the difference? All these guys knew, right? So why not? Why not just say, you know what? Screw it. Let's put all these guys in. Let's have a revote. Let's not wait till it's the Veterans Committee and everything else. Let's put all these guys in. Let's not make these guys grovel anymore. Let's actually treat these guys like human beings. Bud Selig didn't have to grovel. He got a free pass in the Hall of Fame, and he was a freaking commissioner. All these players have been having to grovel and say the right thing and then almost, succumb to it that they're not getting in. Yeah, I understand it. I get it. Blah, blah, blah. But whatever. Put them in. Put these guys in the freaking Hall of Fame. It's not hard. If you're telling, like I said earlier on, that voter who gave Russell Martin, good player, put him in, not a chance he's better than A-Rod. It ain't close. And if you're not, and then the thing, okay, here it is, another way you can do it. Don't even, if you're so set against not putting these guys in, if you're so set against it, Baseball Hall of Fame, if you're set against it, just take them off the ballot completely. Change that. Don't even have the option. Don't trick these guys and don't humiliate them. Don't belittle them. Like humiliate might be a bit of a stronger word, but don't set these guys off. Say and lead them on. Have that leash. Oh, you might get in. You might get in. Put these guys in and be done with it. Enough. Enough with this toying around, the sanctity of baseball, BS, whatever. Like the Hall is so flawed. Like I said in the earlier segment there about Rickey, that he got 94% of the vote. Who didn't vote for Rickey Henderson to get in the freaking Hall of Fame? Rickey is the Hall of Fame. Rickey is baseball. Nobody showed more passion. Nobody showed more flair. Nobody showed the showmanship, the entertainment value that Rickey Henderson did. Nobody. And he only got 94% of the Hall of Fame vote. The people who didn't vote for Rickey Henderson should be strung up by their toes, used as a piñata for a few hours. Not killed, just maimed a little bit. I'm kidding, obviously. It's too close to Christmas to be maiming people. But it's crazy the way that baseball, it's not a Major League Baseball entity, but the way the Hall of Fame can dangle this carrot in front of these guys, and the way they can use this as a tool to twist people around. It's not right. It should be. I don't know. It's odd to me that every year we have this exact same conversation, and not many people disagree. Like Pete Rose, yeah, you want to have a conversation every time about Pete Rose? Yeah, go ahead. I'd love to. It's a great conversation. You want to have a conversation about A-Rod? Yeah, let's have a conversation. Manny Ramirez? Yeah, let's do it. Roger Clemens? Yeah, let's do it. Barry Bonds? Yeah, 100%. Let's do it. Who was worse? Who was worse for the game of baseball? Bud Selig allowing franchise to move. He hid the steroid thing just as much as anybody else. Who was worse for the game of baseball? Bud Selig or Barry Bonds? Answer that. Answer that. You can't, right? Hall of Fame committee won't. Hall of Fame committee won't. Barry Bonds was just as much saving the game of baseball as anybody else was. He was. After the McGuire Sosa home run chase, yes, 70 is a bit of an inflated number, obviously. 72, I think he got to. Yeah, that's a bit of an inflated number, but whatever. He did it. Great hitter. Greatest of all time. Greatest home run hitter of all time. Should be in the Hall of Fame. Somebody's voting for Russell Martin, Dustin Pedroia, and they're not voting for Alex Rodriguez. They can't even vote for Barry Bonds anymore. They can't vote for Roger Clemens anymore. But Russell Martin is getting Hall of Fame votes. Bobby Abreu is getting Hall of Fame votes. And Alex Rodriguez isn't. Show me the logic on that. Show it. It's absolutely ridiculous how that gets treated. How it gets treated as a toy for these reporters and owners, and on it goes. And how these players have to go back years later and grovel to be a part of it. Sammy Sosa saved baseball. He shouldn't have to grovel to the Wrigley faithful, to the Ricketts family, to anybody. If anything, it should be the other way around. The Cubs were garbage. No one was going to Wrigley. Nobody. You think after 9/11, when Sosa ran out in the field there with that little American flag, he didn't have to do that. But he did for the fans, for the franchise, for baseball. Sosa's not a Hall of Famer, but he should be in the Cubs Hall of Fame. Should be a lot of Cubs festivities to be throwing an opening pitch every year, at least once. Maybe not opening day, whatever. But for him to have to grovel and send some cockamamie apology to some owner who doesn't give a shit about the fans, keep raising beer price, keep raising price for everything because you're just record-making revenues. And he has to grovel for a franchise that he saved. You didn't do it, owner. You didn't. The Cubs have been around forever. Sosa's an all-time Cub. And for him to have to grovel for this, it's ridiculous. For all these players over the years who had to grovel and save and apologize for saving baseball, for changing the way the game's played. I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. It's gross the way that they treat the Hall of Fame as a toy, and the way that these players just don't get a chance to get in and get the just due they deserve. Did they cheat baseball? Nope. Because there was a lot of people doing it. And they must not have cheated baseball that bad because the commissioner knew. And there's no way he didn't. There's no way he didn't. It was right in front of his eyes. All the training staff knew. Everybody knew. Everybody knew. So why these guys aren't just, they save baseball from itself. And now with record-breaking revenues, franchises are worth how much money? These guys saved it from the owners. And they should be part of the Hall of Fame. Russell Martin getting votes over, like Martin's a good player, but he ain't no Alex Rodriguez. He's no Manny Ramirez. Those guys are Hall of Famers. Russell Martin's not. Anyways, that's it for the 1420 Sports Bar podcast for today. 4 Beer Worst Sports, talking a whole lot more. It's coffee time, so 9 in the morning here in Lethbridge, Alberta. Heading out to Medicine Hat later on today. Spend the Christmas holidays with the in-laws, taking mom to the airport in Calgary later on this afternoon. She's flying out to spend the holidays with my sister out in Vancouver Island and my brother. So that should be a lot of fun. Wish I was going with them. Not that I don't want to spend time with my in-laws, but it's just one of those things. It's Christmas, so whatever. But we'll discuss that later. Have yourselves a great Christmas. I don't think I'll do one until probably Boxing Day. So that's Thursday. I'll probably get back on the air, see how things go. I'll take my stuff with me and might do another show between now and then. But if I don't talk to you guys live on air between now and then, I want to wish you guys all a Merry Christmas who've been following the show and reading the articles on the 1420 Sports Bar. Wrote a good one last night about Rickey Henderson, so make sure you check that one out. Check out all my friends. Merry Christmas, all my friends, podcast friends out there. Fan of the van, Jim. Hope you're having a great time. Always enjoy talking to you. We'll do one. Aaron from Brutally Sports has been on quite a bit lately. 2 News of Sports News, and on it goes from my family to yours, and from all our podcast listeners out there. Everybody have a Merry Christmas, and we will talk to you guys before the new year gets going. Eat lots, drink lots, be merry, and have a great time. Have Merry Christmas, and we will talk to everybody very, very soon. Cheers. Keep watching the show. Like, tweet, SeatGeek, Righteous Felon, all the stuff. Read the articles, whatever. And the new merchandise didn't get on time for Christmas. Will be out in the new year too as well. So been a fun year, been an adventurous year. I'll probably do a show maybe tomorrow and talk about the year that's been for Brent Redlinsky, from being a podcast guy to baseball executive. So it's been an exciting one, to say the least. We'll talk soon. Have a good Christmas, and remember, everybody, it doesn't matter where you are, it's who you're with.
You just listened to the 1420 Sports Bar podcast. 4 Beer with Sports, talking a whole lot more. We are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Let's get into it.